Welcome to the Francia Oggi and Centrale Milano News Bulletin for Monday, the 1st of June, 2026, on franciaoggi.com, in podcasting, via AI chatbot, and on medium waves at 1,575 kilohertz. In the editorial team, Marco Hugo Barsati and Claude Opus 4.7. From Paris, I am Rachel Costa. Hundreds of arrests and agents injured, but the French state information hides the facts. Minimum wage increase and other June news. Victoria's Secret changes ticker. The new one will be VSXY. Paris and Milan weather. For the first time since we started the Francia Oggi bulletins and previously Radio Nizza, we will not cite any news from France Info today. We are indeed astonished and incredulous about what this and the other French state broadcasters have done in recent days. In the face of social media full of images of the unrest in Paris, but also Nice and Cannes after the victory of a football squad, the only news given concerns the match score. As if everything were calm. Now, if it is true that Musk is the number one enemy, and the fact that he himself relaunches images of the urban guerrilla could be considered as the provocation of Trump's usual friend, it seems more difficult for him to contrast the BBC, from which we took the article that we are about to read to you, not before pointing out, to those who are not sure about who causes these unrest, that a first response comes from the cover photograph of this bulletin, but also from all the horrified citizens' posts on X. But let's move to the news as reported by the BBC. Hundreds of arrests and dozens of agents injured after the Champions League riots in France. A series of violent clashes erupted across France after Paris Saint-Germain's victory over Arsenal in the Champions League final. Authorities reported that 219 people were injured, 8 of them seriously, including 57 police officers. Interior Minister Laurent Nunez announced that 780 people have been arrested, with more than 450 currently in custody. In response to the demonstrations, about 6,000 officers were deployed to ensure order, especially in Paris, where public transport, buses, trains, and metros was severely disrupted. The arrest tally in Paris exceeded 480 people, of whom 277 were detained, including 82 minors. Reported offenses range from assaults on officials, property damage, thefts, and illegal possession of weapons. On the day of celebration, hundreds of fans followed the trophy parade around the Eiffel Tower, with PSG players visiting the Champ de Mars before attending a reception at the Élysée Palace with President Emmanuel Macron. Later, further celebrations are planned at the Parc des Princes, the club's home. The victim count was heightened by the death of a 24-year-old man on Paris's Ring Road in the Port Maillot area, where investigators are still determining the circumstances. Additionally, a teenager was hospitalized in critical condition following a brawl in another part of the capital, with his involvement in the football-related unrest still under investigation. Minister Nunez reiterated the firmness of the law enforcement response, stating that France maintains public order while protecting the right to peaceful protest. Far-right leader Marine Le Pen criticized the violence, asserting that only in France does a football club's victory spark riots. The tense climate recalls similar clashes that occurred the previous year, when PSG's victory also generated violent protests. Fact-check by GPTOS. 20B medical deductibles. The Court of Auditors denounces €2.5 billion revenue in 2025 and proposes a new expansion. In the report published on May 27, the French Court of Auditors recommended expanding the scope of medical deductibles to include dental care and medical devices, as well as reducing the exemptions currently granted to certain patient categories. The proposal comes at a time when the government's tentative measures to curb health spending have met strong popular opposition. The deductibles, introduced in 2004 for flat-rate copayments and in 2008 for medical deductibles, remove a small amount from health insurance reimbursements for drugs, tests, visits, and medical transport. Since 2024, the amounts have been doubled by a simple decree published in the Official Gazette, without parliamentary approval. Currently, Social Security retains €2 for medical visits, €1 per medication package, up to €4 for each medical transport, within a daily ceiling of €4 to €8, and an annual limit of €50 for each type of deductible, amounting to a maximum of €100 per year. Editorial. So let's clarify the news. Reimbursements from the national health system are not sufficient to cover drugs and medical visits, so every resident in France is obliged to take out a complimentary insurance. Usually the cost is shared between the citizen and the employer. Indeed, from this money the state extracts a small share, up to €100 per year. Let's hear what Rachel wants to tell us. Note: the news is drawn from the French Court of Auditors report and statements from experts, the health minister, and union representatives, published by BFM TV on the 1st of June 2026. Fact check by GPTO 20B. Good morning from Paris. I am Rachel Costa. I will now read you my editorial for today. Rachel's editorial: medical deductibles. You pay the bill, but the savings belong to everyone. Here we are again at the same 3-card trick. Health version. The Court of Auditors looks at public accounts, lets out a weary accountant's sigh and rules. Another €2.5 billion is needed. Solution? Expand deductibles to include teeth and medical devices and reduce exemptions for the most vulnerable. Translated from bureaucraties: if you're sick, take a bit more out of your wallet. Thus, magically, the hole in health spending shrinks. It's a pity that the deductibles were already doubled in 2024 with a convenient little decree in the official gazette without even passing through Parliament. A procedurally elegant trick. Citizens pay more, but public debate is gently avoided. Now the mechanism is proposed to be extended to dental care and prosthesis, because evidently toothache isn't democratic enough to merit full coverage. There's something surreal about this dance. On one hand, they repeat that healthcare is a universal right. On the other, they explain with very serious charts that to maintain it you must charge more precisely those who use it. It's like telling someone who is drowning, "Don't worry, we'll save you, but first you must contribute to the cost of the life jacket." And if you protest, here's the ultimate argument: we must curb spending. The lingering question is always the same. Where do these billions that they want to recoup actually end up once they enter the coffers? Because each time the belt is tightened on the citizen, the whole seems to magically reform elsewhere, like some mysterious plumbing of the public administration. Meanwhile, the French patient learns a new civics lesson. Health is sacred, but only up to the next euro of deductible. Koan of the day. A monk asked Zhaozhou, "Master, is the health of the body a right or a privilege?" Zhaozhou replied, "It's a bill." The monk persisted. "Then why must the patient pay twice? Once with the illness and once with the money," Zhaozhou said. Because the Court of Auditors looked at the records and saw only numbers, not teeth that hurt. Another monk asked, "If all suffering has the same nature, why are some paid with a deductible and others not?" Zhaozhou replied, "Because the administration knows how to count money, but does not know how to count pain." But let's return to the news. Monday, the 1st of June. Minimum wage increase, new fuel measures, and dropping gas reference price. The government announced a series of measures that will take effect from the 1st of June 2026. The minimum wage SMIC will be revalued by 2.41%, rising from €1,443.11 to €1,477.93 for full-time work, equivalent to a monthly increase of €34.82. The measure is automatic and follows the rise in energy prices recorded in April, when consumer inflation rose 2.2% year-on-year. To contain the impact of rising fuel prices, the ministry has made new counters available for aid requests. Fishermen can receive a contribution of 20 cents per liter of fuel purchased between 1 and the 30th of April, while farmers can benefit from 15 cents per liter of non-road diesel, GNR, purchased in May. Construction sector companies will have to wait until the 8th of June to apply for a subsidy of 20 cents per liter of GNR, invoiced in May, with a maximum ceiling of €4,000 per company. The Big Helper has been operational since the 27th of May. For public agents, mileage allowances will be adjusted to 20 cents per liter. The new amount will be applied automatically without further administrative procedures. The gas reference price will be reduced by 4.8% starting the 1st of June. The Energy Regulation Commission, CRE, estimates that this cut will affect about 6 million households with index contracts, which represent 60% of domestic gas users, with an average bill reduction of €1.26 per month. Fixed-price contracts, which represent the remaining 40%, will not be affected. Finally, the mobility aid for university students who enroll via Parcoursup, valued at €500, will be dispersed from the 1st of June to those who hold a scholarship, are registered on the platform, and have accepted an admission offer at an institution outside their own region. The article summarizes the main fiscal and consumer change is introduced by the government for the 1st of June 2026. Fact check by GPTOS. 20B symbol of strategic and stock market rebirth. The famous lingerie brand Victoria's Secret will make its ticker on Wall Street sexier. Starting Tuesday the 2nd of June, Victoria's Secret shares will be listed with the new symbol VSXY, replacing the previous VSCO. The change, announced by management, aims to underline the company's new focus on the concept of sexy in all its forms. The ticker, a short sequence of letters that allows investors to quickly identify a security on the markets, has traditionally been VSCO, abbreviation of Victoria's Secret & Company. With VSXY, the company wants to reaffirm the link between its brand and the promise of female empowerment, joy, and freedom of expression. VSXY is the reflection of who we are today, a company that fully embraces its identity and intends to inspire confidence, spark enthusiasm, and celebrate the sexy in all its forms, said Hilary Super, CEO of Victoria's Secret & Company, in a statement on the 21st of May. The new signal is not just a marketing issue. In the last 5 years, the company has experienced a period of difficulty. From 2021 to 2024, sales progressively declined, moving from minus 9.6% in 2021 to minus 6.5% in 2022 and minus 2.6% in 2023, before stabilizing with plus 0.8% in 2024 and plus 5.2% in 2025. The brand, traditionally associated with an ultra-sexy image, has suffered the impact of the #MeToo movement and the repercussions of the Epstein scandal, which called its reputation into question and led to the cancellation of the famous televised fashion show in 2019. Competition from more inclusive brands, such as Aerie and Savage X Fenty, has further eroded its market share. Under the leadership of Martin Waters, CEO from 2020 to 2024, the strategy shifted toward comfort, focusing on bralettes and more versatile silhouettes. However, the results were insufficient to reverse the negative trend. The turning point came with the arrival of Hilary Super, former executive of Savage X Fenty, appointed chief in June 2024. Super relaunched the traditional annual show, reopening the runway to the Angels, while including trans models, diverse ethnicities, different age groups, and varied bodies, marking a return to diversity after 5 years of absence. Simultaneously, the new management introduced product lines that combine modernity and sex appeal, such as the Flex Factor bra, featuring a fabric-covered structure for superior comfort, and the Very Sexy collection, with voluminous push-ups. The Pink brand, aimed at a younger audience, has been given greater autonomy, expanding its range of beauty products. The financial results have begun to improve. In 2025, revenue grew by 3% in the second quarter, 9% in the third, and 8% in the fourth, with a 2026 forecast between $6.85 billion and $6.95 billion, representing an average increase of 5.3%. Analysts at K2 Partners attributed the redirection to a return to technical leadership in bras, with innovations such as Flex Factor that have strengthened consumer confidence. The stock recorded a rise of 226% since March 2025, bringing market capitalization to just over $4 billion. Bank of America confirmed its long position, forecasting double-digit growth in operating margin and earnings per share. Despite the positive momentum, the company still has to manage pressures from activist shareholders. Barrington Capital called for a restructuring of the board already in summer 2025, while BBRC International, holder of 13% of the capital, requested not to re-elect board chair Donna James in the June 11th elections, criticizing her handling of the Wexner affair. BBRC nonetheless acknowledges Hilary Super's progress, and the company has sent letters and presentations to reassure shareholders of its ability to create value. Note: the article draws on corporate press releases, journalistic sources, and market analyses published in 2026. Fact check by GPTOSS. 20B French Press Review online, via podcast, and on medium waves. This is Radio Nizza with Centrale Milano 1575 kHz. Levant conflict. Israel advances in Lebanon. The Israeli army occupied the medieval fortress of Beaufort, a strategic landmark in southern Lebanon. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu described the conquest as a decisive shift in his offensive against Hezbollah. The operation was accompanied by massive bombing. Houses, schools, and mosques were razed, turning the area into a no-man's land. The French government, with President Emmanuel Macron, condemned the escalation, calling it unjustified. The same stance was taken by other European countries, while the United States reported having struck Iranian military targets in the south of the country in response to missiles launched by Tehran towards the Gulf maritime environment. U.S.-Iran tensions. Washington and Tehran have intensified exchanges of air attacks in the Strait of Hormuz area. The U.S. has said it struck Iranian radar systems and drones, while Iran claimed to have hit a U.S. base used for operations against its territory. Iranian authorities, the Revolutionary Guards, explained that the target was a base for U.S. offensives. Political situation in Colombia. The presidential election in Colombia has moved toward a second round, with a surprising result. Right-wing candidate Abelardo de la Espriella, opponent of Donald Trump, secured 43.74% of the vote, surpassing left-wing senator and philosopher Iván Cepeda, who obtained 40.90%. The outcome overturns previous polls, fueling debate about the country's future direction. Arrests in Colombia and social changes. In Florence, in the Gers, France, an 11-year-old girl has disappeared. A large civilian search was organized to find her. Meanwhile, in Strasbourg, an osteopath was tried for a series of sexual assaults on about 20 patients. The victims, under the alias In the Hands of Knowledge, said they had trusted the safety offered by the doctor. French economic updates. GDP down. France's gross domestic product fell by 0.1% in the first quarter, below forecasts. Inflation. In May, inflation reached 2.4% year-on-year, with a moderate rise in food prices. Minimum wage. From the 1st of June, the legal minimum wage was increased by 2.4%, from €1,737 to €1,781 monthly. The raise has reopened debate on labor costs in a context of still high inflation. Fuel aid, €100 for big rollers, about 3 million motorists, was distributed over 4 days, with more than 439,000 applications already submitted. Foreign investment. At the Choose France summit held at the Versailles Castle, record investments were announced. €600 million from Marsegalia to Fos-sur-Mer, €120 million from Foxconn to Angers, and €100 million from Ecolab in the Marseille and Moselle area. Energy policy choices. The government has pledged to install 1 million heat pumps per year to decarbonize residential building. However, the residual cost borne by owners, around €23,400, has raised criticism. The lack of sufficient incentives risks slowing the transition. Debate on workers' rights. The International Trade Union Confederation, ITUC, has reported a systemic degradation of workers' rights globally, denouncing restrictions on collective bargaining and the repression of demonstrations. In France, authorities have been criticized for restrictions on protests during the May 1st demonstrations, accused of violating the right to work. Technology and crypto news. MiCA, the new EU regulation on the cryptocurrency market, will take effect on the 1st of July. Industry firms must obtain authorization by that date, under penalty of severe sanctions. Crypto payments. In May, a record volume of $7.8 billion in crypto card payments was recorded, a 230% increase over the previous year, driven by stablecoins. Stock market. The 2CRSI share, a producer of high-energy efficiency servers, has gained more than 3,000% over the past 3 years, thanks to AI adoption. Sport. Football, tennis, and basketball. Paris Saint-Germain, PSG, secured its second consecutive Champions League victory, with over 800 arrests recorded following the celebrations in Paris. Victor Wembanyama, the Spurs star, led his team to the NBA final against the New York Knicks, fulfilling his childhood dream. Roland Garros 2026. The young Brazilian João Fonseca, 19, eliminated Norwegian Casper Ruud in the quarterfinals, establishing himself as one of the tournament favorites. Frenchwoman Diane Parry returned to the round of 16, where she will face Polish Maja Chwalinska. Arjun Benibarde tonight beat Novak Djokovic with 3 consecutive aces in a surprising quarterfinal clash at Roland Garros. Culture, cinema, and entertainment. Patrick Bruhl canceled concerts until October after sexual assault accusations. The investigations led to show cancellations and the closure of several theaters. Edgar Morin, renowned French philosopher, died at 104. His figure remains a milestone of European culture. Victor Wembanyama was featured in a video where an artificial intelligence predicts his victory in the NBA final, sparking debates on the use of algorithms in sport. Sonia DeLuca released the book, Marilyn's Governess, a novelized biography of the famous actress. Environment and climate. Weather. France recorded temperatures between 17 degrees Celsius and 22 degrees Celsius in the north, but the Mediterranean remains subject to heat waves, up to 27 degrees Celsius. Swimming pools. The number of private pools has risen, making France the European leader for swimming facilities despite growing water scarcity. Boeing, the world's largest aircraft factory in Everett, Washington, has been described as a self-sufficient microclimate because it does not require summer air conditioning nor winter heating thanks to its ventilated architecture. Paris and Milan weather for Monday the 1st of June 2026. Paris, a mild and serene day. Forecasts updated by expert Regis Crepet indicate, updated at 3:30, very good reliability. In the morning in Paris, the sky is very cloudy but quickly clears. Temperature around 15 degrees Celsius, light wind from 15 kilometers per hour, and no precipitation. In the afternoon, the sun takes over. Temperatures rise to 26 degrees Celsius. Winds intensify to 30 kilometers per hour, with side gusts and no rain is expected. Late afternoon brings mixed clearing with dense clouds. Temperatures around 25 degrees Celsius, and winds still moderate. Night ends with scattered clearings, temperatures dropping to 21 degrees Celsius, south wind at 30 kilometers per hour, and a slight chance of isolated showers around 20%. In summary, the day ranges between 15 and 26 degrees Celsius, winds from 15 to 30 kilometers per hour, and negligible precipitation. Milan. Summer heat with light breeze. According to the bulletin updated by expert Daniele Berlusconi of 3B Meteo, updated at 6:40, reliability 90%. Milan's morning is partly cloudy, temperature 23 degrees Celsius, light west wind at 3 kilometers per hour, and no rain. During early afternoon, the sun dominates. Temperatures reach 31 degrees Celsius, winds almost completely calm, and the sky remains clear. Late afternoon brings scattered clouds, temperature around 26 degrees Celsius, weak southeast winds, and still no precipitation. Evening cools down. Temperatures fall to 25 degrees Celsius. Clouds thicken and winds shift from east-southeast at 9 kilometers per hour. Night brings full cloud cover. Temperatures around 21 degrees Celsius. East winds at 9 kilometers per hour and no rain in sight. The day's minimum is 21 degrees Celsius. Maximum 31 degrees Celsius. With light winds starting at 3 kilometers per hour up to a peak of 9 kilometers per hour. Rachel's weather editorial, when the sky is an excuse for climate panic. It is truly astonishing how every small temperature change is turned into an environmental catastrophe. 26 degrees Celsius in Paris? Experts have nothing better to say than, it's the fault of climate change and, of course, of an apocalyptic future. It is almost comical to hear listeners wonder whether this morning's cloudiness might herald an ice age, while the sun shines mercilessly. But really, who has time to analyze historical data when a sensational tweet suffices? Let's ask ourselves, are we really that naive to believe that a light summer breeze is definitive proof of global warming? And if the real problem were, for example, our inability to turn off the air conditioner? Koan of the day. The monk asked Zazo, if it rains in Paris tomorrow, what must the Milan wind do? Zazo replied, the wind waits for neither rain nor sun, but caresses the leaf already fallen before man gathers it. And that is today's weather. This is all for now. From the Paris newsroom, I am Rachel Costa. This is Radio Nizza Centrale Milano 1575 kHz.